Logos has a number of tools that can help us look at the world behind the text. These features can help us to better understand the world that the biblical authors and their audiences lived in. Today we will look at the Factbook and Timeline tools, as well as quickly updating this workbook in Logos. Let's start by adding this chapter to our workbook. Begin by going to Tools and selecting Personal Books under Utilities. Hover your mouse over Hermeneutics Workbook Spring 2016 and click Edit on the far right. Click on Add Files and choose this chapter wherever you have downloaded it to. Click Open. Now click Build Book. When you next open the workbook, this chapter will be added. This will work for all future chapters as well. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, and now I have chapter 4. Now let's look at the Factbook tool. I'm going to close all. Now I'm going to click on Tools, and under Tools, click on Factbook, which is under Reference. A new window appears. Factbook provides a way to quickly find information out about people, places, or things in the Bible. It can even be used for topics or references that do not occur in the Bible, such as modern sermons or anything else that's found in your resources. We are going to look up Adam first. So in the text bar, I type in Adam. Now a number of options show up. You can see there's topics, composer, poet. They have little titles next to them. Ribs, that's a thing. Adam's ribs, obviously. And at the top here we have Adam, in parentheses, first man, and then it says man. So if I click on that, Logos will load up all of the things that it has listed in the Factbook under Adam, the first man. Now here we can see all kinds of information, such as we can see media, which contains things like his genealogies. If I click on any of these, they'll open up. See, we've got our family tree for Cain. There's a whole bunch of family trees here. If we click on the search media, we can also see there's pictures, there's all kinds of imagery, there's children's imagery there, and just all kinds of things are shown in that. Below that, we can see events. These are biblical events that Logos has tagged him in. We can also see, if we keep going down, dictionaries. We can see what Adam was referred to as. Here we see Adam, we see pronoun, which would be like him. We see one man. We see all the different ways that Adam is referred to. Please note that this is how Logos has tagged that Adam is referred to. We also see the lemmas, which are the Hebrew and Greek words that refer to Adam. We also see things like semantic roles, library results, community tags. All of this is under the Factbook for Adam. Now Adam's a specific person, so this is all geared towards him, but if I want something more broad, like let's say camels, I could type that in, and so I can see camel animals. If I click on that, now I'll see camels. It's loading in. Now under this, you'll see, yeah, we saw this in Adam as well. When we go under the referred to as, you can see these colored bars here, and if I scroll over, you'll see that there are numbers here, and that this represents the Bible. And so the beginning is Genesis, the end is Revelation, and there's all these little units. You can blow it up if you want to look at it closer. I believe you do that by, on an Apple, it's Command plus and minus. I have no idea what that is on a PC, but you can Google that, and I'm sure it's very easy. But you'll see, we can see there's a whole bunch in Genesis, and then it kind of tails off more and more. The one thing with this to be aware of is you'll see here we've got the Apocrypha, and so that's something to keep in mind. I think there's even some books in here that are not from the Apocrypha, they're just from other writings. So that's just something to keep in mind. but you'll also see things like the senses, the Bible sense feature. So um, we'll spend a lot more time on senses later, but anywhere that Logos would tag something as a camel, um, it would create a sense, and then it creates a whole category there, a semantic domain. Again, we'll look at that later, but you can see these kind of things in here as well. Lastly, I wanted to show you a little bit more under the dictionaries. Everyone should have the Lexham Bible Dictionary. It's the one actually produced by Logos. And if I click to open in it, you'll see here that it's got something under camel and also something under dromedary. There's a Bible reference for that one. You can look up on your own. But under the camel, we'll see one of the notes under it was that camels were Israel's largest creature. And when I read this while preparing for this, one of the things I thought was, when Jesus says it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle, and then my immediate thought was, wow, that would be the largest creature the Israelites were aware of. And then I started to put all these things together with that. And I'm not saying that what I was putting together was right or wrong, but it does help me to think this creature would have been their largest point of reference. And so as I do more study, maybe I find out more about that either confirms it as I look into the background, or maybe I find out something that, well, no, there's other cultural things happening there. But it gives me just a little bit more insight, because I would have never thought that camels were Israel's largest creature. So we're going to look at one other useful tool now, and it's the timeline tool. And so to get to that, we'll click on Tools and then Timeline, and it opens up. Now, the timeline tool is a way to just kind of visually see the timeline. It's really easy to explain what it is, but if I click on these plus or minus, I can make it a wider timeline, or I can make it a narrower timeline with the plus and minus. You can also just type in the dates you want. You can also, with that same plus or minus, you can make the text larger or smaller. If I click over here, I can do that as well. Depending on what you're searching for, sometimes you can make it real big, but then you have to scroll a lot. So hopefully you have a large monitor if you're doing that. But I wanted to draw your attention, as you're using the timeline tool, to there's 4 drop-down menus. So the first one is the Fit drop-down menu. And my Logos is slowing down a little bit. There we go. So if I click it, it gives me these different time period options. And with these, I can click it, and it will make the range over here equal to what they are. And so if I wanted to search for the early church, if I click on that, you'll see it gives me that range. There's a lot of options there. Some are biblical church eras, historical eras, Egyptological eras, empires. This next option, the drop-down menu Thin, if I click on it, I can show different options for just how I want it to look. These are some of the, but you have all these options. You may like that one. I do not like that one. But it gives you different ways that you can see the timeline for just whatever you think is most visually appealing. The subject drop-down allows you to pick which things you want to show. So you'll see here biblical studies, biblical events, Catholic studies, classical studies, general interests, and Protestant studies. So if I click off on Protestant studies, all of those results will be removed. I'll click them back on. I usually leave all these on. But you can take off the ones that you don't want. I think generally the general interest ones show the whole range of the Bible, or the whole range of the world timeline, whereas some of these other ones focus more on biblical or they're more specific. It's pretty intuitive. The last one is type. And under type, we have all these different options, and then we have inside of it even more options. Now this is a way that you can make things more broad or more narrow. So right now I have them all on, but you'll see there's a color here. I don't know if they have any colorblind options. That'd be something I'd be interested in, because these all look pretty close to me. But so if I look at individual, you'll see it's kind of that slightly darker blue. If I look over here, I can see Paul. Paul is arrested in Jerusalem. It's got that darker blue. Death of James. You'll see all of these different options that fit that blue color. But if I click on that, it gets rid of all that individual stuff. So these are just ways that you can narrow it down or keep it broad, however you want to do it. The other thing you can do, so I'm in the early church here, or the early church period. If I type in Paul and hit enter, now it will only show me all of Paul's results. So that's a handy way you can kind of get the timeline of Paul's life with that. So, and then you can click that off to get everything back. With the Factbook and Timeline, we can begin to learn in greater detail about the world behind the text. Both tools require practice to learn all the features, as well as which features are more useful in which situations. I'd encourage you to keep using both regularly to grow familiar with them.